evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book. We are starting today the conclusion. We finished last time, a couple of weeks ago, we finished question 1019, which was chapter 2 of book 4. And we have the conclusion of this book, and then we have the introduction. Again, restart. Now, the introduction and the conclusion have a lot of similarity. What we did in previous times was, in the last 2 or 3 times we did, we finished and restarted, was to do the introduction and not the conclusion. But this time I decided that we should do the conclusion, and then we'll do a brief introduction instead of doing the full introduction, okay? So we're going to read the conclusion. It's 8 items. There is a lot of information here on the conclusion that doesn't add much for us, but there is a lot of interesting points of discussion. So we're going to try to go over here what's available for us. So conclusion, which is after question 1019 by the end of the book, okay? It's 8 items. So we're going to read item by item. Philip, item 1, please.
A person whose knowledge of terrestrial magnetism is limited to small magnetized duck figures swimming and moving about in a water basin would find it extremely difficult to grasp that those figurines contain the secret behind the mechanism of the universe and the movement of worlds. Likewise, a person whose knowledge of Spiritism is limited to table turning is in a similar position. To them, these communications are merely a form of entertainment or a pastime, and they cannot understand how such a simple and common phenomenon connects to the biggest questions and answers concerning social order. To the superficial observer, what connection can possibly exist between a table that turns and the future of humanity? However, when we reflect on the idea of a simple pot simmering since the dawn of time, which can lift its lid at the boiling point, we realize that a powerful driving force has emerged. Human beings use this force to erase distance and move through space. To all who believe that there is nothing beyond the material world, know that from the table turning that triggers your mocking, a new philosophy has arisen, one that solves problems that no other system has been able to solve. To all of Spiritism's honest adversaries, I ask whether you have taken the trouble to study what you criticize. I rationally remind you that criticism is of no value unless the critic is familiar with the subject of scorn. To ridicule something of which we have no knowledge of and which we have not meticulously examined is not true criticism, but merely proof of a lack of judgment. If a human being had proposed this philosophy, there would have been less disdain. People who claim to guide and sway public opinion would have studied it. However, as it comes from the spirits, it has therefore been deemed an absurdity. As such, it has barely merited a single glance, deserving of no more than the judgment of the monkey in the fable who judged a nut by its shell. Forget its origin and assume that this book is solely the work of a human being. Then, after carefully reading it, honestly ask yourself if you find anything that warrants ridicule.
Thanks, Philip. So What Kardec, again, this is written by Kardec, okay? This doesn't come from the spirits. Of course, we can imagine that he was inspired by spirits when he was reading it. So he starts talking about his first interest. Before he came to Spiritism, Kardec was an adept of magnetism, right? He was studied Mesmer, who brought the notion of magnetism, which is an energy that comes from humans, that animals, plants, all have magnetism. And he talks about, if the knowledge of a person of the terrestrial magnetism is limited to small magnetized ducts, figures swimming and moving about, they cannot understand that there is a secret behind it. There's more to it than simply attraction of metal, attraction or repulsion of metals. And the same thing applies to Spiritism, right? Because if you remember, Spiritism started with the turning tables, with the Sisters Fox here in New York, that heard noises and in their house, and then they found that there was a spirit there that was behind the knocks, and then from these mediums start to gain popularity, and then it became playing with the table became the source of amusement for the society. People sit around the table, and the table would levitate, would make noises, would turn around. So that's how it came, the turning tables. So a person who sees a table turning and nothing more, sees it as an entertainment, cannot understand how can a simple phenomena connect to the big questions that Kardec asked the spirits and are answered in the Spirits book. So he said, for us to dismiss the idea based on the notion that a table turning and the spirit that knows has the wisdom to teach us, it's a long way. And and if you think that simply, we have to agree, right? But Kardec didn't stop at the table turning. He went from there to start collecting material from spirits communicating through other forms. Of course, in the beginning was table make noises, raps, and then the planchette, and then things like that. And from there, he went all the way to the mediums giving communications through psychography, that it was the answers to the questions. So Kardec started from the turning tables, but reached to a point that he was in connection with a lot of elevated spirits. But for you to understand that, you need to study, you need to research. If someone tells you, oh, behind the turning table there is a wise spirit, unless you are completely credible in everything someone tells you, you're going to say no, right? So what Kardec is asking here is for people that are interested to take it seriously. He says, to all Spiritist honest adversaries, I ask whether you have taken the trouble to study. You have to study before you discuss, because that's that expression, I didn't see, but I didn't like. It's a very easy way out, right? How can you discuss something that you have no knowledge? You have to go deep and find the questions and what you don't agree with and what you agree with. And Kardec says here, to ridicule something that we have no knowledge of becomes, it's a proof of lack of judgment. If if I decided, I like sports, but there are sports that I understand nothing about them, right? So if I start criticizing cricket, for instance, which is a sport that I understand nothing about it, it's just proof of my lack of judgment because I know nothing about it. How can I criticize it? There's a lot of people in the world that love it. So there must be something interesting about it, right? For people to like it. So if I'm not interested in learning about it, which I'm not, and I'm not going to watch it, I have no right to criticize it. I have to just say, I don't know enough about it. That's it. So that's what Kardec is proposing to us, to the critics here. If you don't understand and you are not going to spend time studying it, don't come criticizing it. And to say that because it comes from the spirits, it cannot be true, Kardec just made a very good point here. Forget about it being written by spirits. Suppose that it was written by an individual. Read and analyze, forgetting that is written by spirits, and tell if it doesn't make sense. Because the spirits book, if you forget that it was written by spirits, dictated by spirits, and you read as a philosophy or a scientific philosophy, a moral aspect, you still won't find any problems with it, right? So if it was written by someone incarnated or alive, these critics would have accepted it. And that's what Kardec asked them to do. The fable of the monkey that judged the nut by its shell, I went to research for the fable, and the fable is just that, right? A monkey that saw a nut in the tree nut, went up there, tried to eat, it was too hard, threw it away and said, it's worthless. So, it denotes a lack of effort and a lack of trying to understand. So it judged the nut by its shell, not by the complete content of a nut. So what he's just saying here is try to study, and after study, let's talk about it. But to discuss it with someone that has no knowledge is to waste both their time and our time. Okay, that's the idea behind this first item here. Okay, comments, questions?
The only thing interesting is that it says the honest adversaries. It's not invite anyone. You want those who are sincere, try to understand. Did you read? Then we can discuss it. After that, we still don't like it. You're honest, yes, you don't like it, it's not for you, that's fine. But if you're not honest, don't waste time, anybody's time.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me just add something. It matters that deal with the spiritual life. Most of us, okay, I speak for myself, grew up with just not really studying. It was just given to us, instilled in us, inculcated to us, but it was not like we do here. Am I making sense?
Yes, and it's good that you brought this, because I forgot to put this in context of what was happening in the middle of the 19th century, right? Religion dominated humankind for a very long time, imposing its truths and not allowing any deviation from the religious truths. So when, starting with the French Revolution, we broke away with religion, we moved completely to the other side, denying everything that is spiritual or so moving to materialism. And when Spiritism comes, and we'll see that in the next item, Spiritism comes to bring it a rational explanation of the spiritual phenomena, which is something that you didn't have with materialism or with the church. with the teachings of the church. So I think that nowadays we live in a slightly different reality. We still have the materialists, the scientists especially, very opposed to anything spiritual. But there is a lot of discrimination against spiritism coming from the religious organizations that they are the typical, I don't know anything about it and I don't like it, which is a very comfortable way of denying something. So I think at the time of Kardec, of course, there was criticism from the church after Spiritism came out, and there was the burning of the books and everything. But the focus that Kardec had on Spiritism, it was against materialism, because it was something that was growing and getting stronger at that time in the 19th century, as people were moving away from religion, in France, from the Catholic religion, right? Because the Catholic in France, the Catholic Church was again imposing their will very strongly. Kardec had to leave France and go to study in Switzerland because of his mother didn't want him to be educated by the church. She wanted him to have a independent thinking education. That's why he went to Verdun in Switzerland, Yverdon, and studied under Pestalozzi, which is still one of the pioneers of the education that we have until nowadays. So he's a disciple of Pestalozzi, and that's how he became a scholar that he was. So yes, Paco, thank you. Right?
But he was also a highly, what do you call it, well-known educator.
Yeah. Yes, he was an educator. Some of his books for education under his real name, Hippolyte Léon Denisard Rivail, are still used in the French education system.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, and now we start exactly by what I was talking about, the opponent of materialism. Go ahead, Philip.
Number 2, Spiritism is a staunch opponent of materialism, and it is not surprising that materialists are its adversaries. Materialism is a theory that many hardly dare to admit, defending proof that its supporters are not ardent believers and that they are dominated by their conscience. They hide behind a mask of reason and science. It is interesting how the most skeptical people speak on behalf of religions that they neither know nor understand any better than Spiritism. They focus particularly on the miraculous and the supernatural, which they deny, and as they presuppose that Spiritism is founded on the miraculous and supernatural, they declare that it can be nothing more than a ridiculous fantasy. They do not realize that in categorically denying the possibility of the miraculous and the supernatural, they are denying religion itself, which is founded on revelation and miracles. What are revelations if not extra-human communications? All the writers of the scriptures since Moses' time have spoken of this type of communication. What are the miracles if not events of an unparalleled, miraculous, and supernatural nature, since they are, according to the liturgical sense, deviations from the laws of nature? In rejecting the miraculous and the supernatural, they reject the very basis of all religions, and we should not view the subject from this perspective. Spiritism does not necessarily settle the question of miracles, meaning whether God, in certain cases, deviates from the eternal laws that regulate the universe. In this regard, Spiritism leaves full freedom of choice as when it comes to belief. It dictates and proves that the phenomena on which it is based are supernatural only in appearance, and that they only appear to be such to some because they are unusual. They are simply outside the limits of facts known at the moment of their observation. They are no more supernatural than all the other phenomena that science explains today, though they appeared to be miraculous in the past. All spiritist phenomena, without exception, are a consequence of general laws. They reveal one of the powers of nature, albeit an unknown power, or rather one that has not been understood, but which observation has shown to be included in the order of things. Spiritism, therefore, is founded less on the miraculous and the supernatural than religion itself, and those who attack it for this reason do so because they do not know what it truly is. Even if they were among the most educated people, we would say to them, if your science, which has taught you so many things, has not taught you that the realm of nature is infinite, you are not nearly as advanced as you think you are.
Thanks. So Kardec starts by saying that Spiritism is a staunch opponent of materialism, and that materialists are the adversaries. And then he talks about the materialists in the sense that you don't see fanatics in materialism, right? You see those that believe that everything is material, is physical, and there is nothing beyond the physical nature of human beings, and have no desire in research or admit anything, because they come with preconceived ideas that everything that exists, that may exist beyond the physical world, is not real. So if they have their minds made up, again, there is nothing for us to discuss. But if they throw Spiritism in the same basket as other religions that have dogmas and try to impose their truths, then we have a different discussion, because religions are focused on the miraculous and the supernatural. All religions talk about miracles of, maybe of Jesus or of other leaders of the religions, Moses or Mohammed or Buddha. They all have, if you look at their story, they all have practiced miracles in one way or another. Kardec talks about that Spiritism does not necessarily settle the question of miracles, but then he goes on the book Genesis, that the subtitle of Genesis is Miracles and Predictions According to Spiritism. He goes deeper into the study of the miracles. And again, the concept is very simple, right? If God's law is perfect, then there is no reason for a derogation of God's law, of the natural law. Because if there is a reason, if God would derogate its own perfect law, then the law wasn't perfect to begin with, right? Because if it was perfect, there is no need for derogation. So what we call miracle or supernatural is just something that we still do not understand, right? Jesus did a lot of miracles when he was here amongst us, right? The miracles of Jesus nowadays, with the study of Spiritism, can be explained within the laws of nature, not without the laws of nature. When he cured the blind, he cured the woman who was bleeding, he resuscitated, which was, it's not the correct what happened exactly, the daughter of Jairus or Lazarus. These are all things that Spiritism explains. So they were and are still considered miracles in many of the religions, but they are not really miracles, right? When you see the story of Jesus, right, and you follow his journey here, you hear of this case and that case that he made miraculous cures and miraculous things. So cured people from leper. Why didn't he cure everybody? Why didn't he resuscitated everybody? Why somewhere he did on few and not on most? Why people don't discuss that, right? So Jesus cured those that could be cured by what, again, Jesus didn't need spiritual assistance. He was his own magnetizer, right? We just talked about magnetism. So a lady that was blind since youth, so she had some problem in the eyes. Jesus knew that he could restore her vision, so he did that by using magnetism. The daughter of Jairus and Lazarus, they were not really dead. They were in a catatonic state. And Jesus could see that the spiritual body was still attached to the physical body. Because if he had resuscitated them after they really had died, then it would be a miracle. Then it would be a derogation of the natural law. But the natural law is perfect, cannot be derogated. So when he did resuscitate those, he merely brought them back to a waking state from a catatonic state in the case of Lazarus, and in the case of the daughter of Jairus, I don't know exactly what was the problem with her, but she was considered dead, but she was not dead. Jesus could see and awakened her up. So for those that are either followers of religions that believe in the miracles and are comfortable with the miracles, don't want to question the miracles, that's, it's what they are comfortable with, that's fine. For the materialists, that they don't believe anything, they don't know how to explain, and they don't believe it happened. That's the easy way out, right? This is all stories told by religious beliefs, right? Nothing of this happened, right? Well, some of them even say that Jesus never really existed, right? So there is a group of people that say that Jesus was an invention. And again, fine. It's their choice.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah.
So what Kardec is talking about here is, again, it goes back to Spiritism goes beyond what religions, because most religions are based in the miracles and supernatural. Spiritism goes way beyond that, studies it, proves that it doesn't exist, that the supernatural and miracles are just things that we haven't been able to understand yet. All spiritist phenomena, without exception, are the consequence of general laws. Again, the natural laws. They reveal one of the powers of nature, an unknown power yet, power that has not been understood. But eventually it will. But again, there are people that go out of their way to try to prove that the 450 books written by Francisco Xavier did not come from the spirits, it came from him. That would be really a very smart person, right? That haven't reached high school and was able to produce 450 books of poems and spiritual treatises and all the other things. It's so much simpler to admit that it comes from spirits and different spirits than to find any other explanation. But they still try, when they are comfortable with their limited understanding of it.
Then would have to believe that he's a miracle man and that he has supernatural power. He would have to accept that.
Yeah.
Leadership or that.
Yeah. There was a famous writer in Brazil at the time that Chico published his first book, which is called Parnassus of Beyond the Grave, which is a book of poems from, I don't know how many, 40 different poets from Brazil and Portugal. And each poem is completely different in style, different in everything. And when people questioned if it really came from spirits, that he was the one that wrote all the poems, then this writer said, well, if he wrote all these poems by himself, he should have all the chairs in the Academy of Letters in Brazil, because he should have all the chairs, not one chair, because it's an achievement. But again, I think there are people that are lazy, that don't want to study and to try to understand, and there are people that are closed in their own preconceptions and their own desire not to believe in anything. Well, as someone said, right, we are all going back to the spiritual world one day, and then eventually we'll have to accept the reality that the spiritual world exists. Even if we deny when we are back there, which many do, but eventually something, it reaches a point that we have to accept. So time will take care of everyone. Okay. Okay, questions, comments here? All right, let's go to number 3. You are on mute, Philip.
Number 3, you say that you want to cure your century of the naivete that threatens to overrun the world. Would you prefer to see the world plagued by the skepticism that you seek to spread? Doesn't the absence of beliefs cause both the relaxing of family ties and the majority of the ailments are undermining society today? By demonstrating the existence and immortality of the soul, Spiritism revives faith in the future, raises the spirits of the discouraged, and enables us to bear the adversities of life with resignation. Do you call this inequity? 2 theories are offered. One denies the existence of a future life, while the other proclaims and proves it. One explains nothing, while the other explains everything and appeals to our reason. One justifies selfishness, while the other provides a firm basis for justice, charity, and the love of one's fellow human beings. One offers only the present and destroys every shred of hope, while the other consoles us by showing the vast horizon of the future. Now, which is the more malevolent of the 2? Some among the most skeptical of our challengers portray themselves as apostles of brotherhood and progress, but brotherhood implies objectivity and the rejection of personality. In true fraternity, pride is a flaw. By what right do they impose such a sacrifice on people when you tell them that death is the end of them, and that maybe even tomorrow they will be reduced to an out-of-order machine, thrown to the curb as trash? Why should people impose any sort of deprivation on themselves? Is it more natural for them to strive to live as comfortably as possible during the few brief seconds you grant them? The desire to possess as much as possible and to enjoy the greatest amount of pleasure arises from this. Hence, this desire naturally gives birth to jealousy of those who possess more. For this jealousy, all it takes is one further step to become covetous of what they possess. What holds them back from doing this? The law. However, the law does not cover every case. Is it the conscience or a sense of duty that governs one's choices? What is the sense of duty based on? Does that sense have any purpose if everything ends with our present life? One proverb perfectly sums up this belief: every man for himself. According to this belief, brotherhood, conscience, duty, humanity, even progress are empty words. Those who proclaim such a doctrine have no idea of how much harm they do to society, or how many crimes they are responsible for. But why do I speak of responsibility at all? For skeptics, it is irrelevant since they only worship matter.
Okay. So here, Kardec is comparing materialism with what Spiritism teaches, right? He starts saying he wants to cure a century of the naivete that threatens to overrun the world. This means at that time, people were trying to convince, the materialists were trying to convince the religious followers that religion was, the illusion that leads you to live a life that it's not the real life. That the real life is the life of the matter, right? And then Kardec starts making analysis of what does it mean to believe in nothing and to have an understanding and an acceptance that we all are eternal spirits and then we live beyond the physical life. So when you believe that you will continue, that you will still be yourself back in the spiritual world without the physical body, of course, the way you see things happening to you today changes. Because if you think that the only thing that exists is the present life, there is nothing after, there is no spiritual life, no spiritual world, there is no God, which is what many people believe today, because they see the injustices in the world and they don't understand how a God would exist that allow all injustices in the world. Again, Kardec analyzes here in the sense that Spiritism offers hope, offers a basis for justice, charity, and love of one another, but not just throwing words, explaining how it works, explaining why it's important. Why should we treat the others like we would like to be treated ourselves? Why should we practice charity? Why should we love our fellow beings? Once you have no belief in the survival of the soul, it's much more likely that you won't care about your fellow beings, right? You care about your loved ones, and that's it. It's every man for himself, like Kardec says here in the end, right? So to be a materialist, full materialist, and be a good person, does it exist? Yes, it does. We cannot say they don't exist. There are people out there that believe in nothing and still practice goodness and live an upright life. They are admirable, in my opinion, because I think that if you don't believe in anything, you believe that everything will finish here, why would you concern yourself with others? But again, I know there are these people out there. Spiritism gives answers in the sense that it explains what are we doing here, where do we come from, where are we going, and more important, what are we going to do there? Why should we work to improve ourselves, right? Everything is explained. From the side of the materialists, there's no explanation for anything beyond the physical life. So you should have you should follow the law. That's why you cannot do anything wrong. But again, there are many people that find ways to work outside the law, right? Sense of duty. I think sense of duty is something that some few upright individuals have that believe in nothing, but most would not have it. So what Kardec is saying is, at the stage of our humanity evolution, materialism would only cause harm to society as a whole. Since Kardec's time, we had some experiences with materialist societies, and which was basically the communist countries that eliminated religion as much as possible. And they didn't end up very well, right? There are still communist countries out there that still forbid religion to be practiced, but what they try to achieve, which is the equality amongst all inhabitants, they're not even close to achieving. So the lack of belief doesn't really help in the way of making ourselves equal. Because again, if you believe that there's nothing after this life, why would you, for the majority of us, why would you take care of those that you don't know, right? If they make no difference for you. Now, when you have a belief, again, in a better, in the survival of the soul, and especially when you throw reincarnation in the picture, meaning we're coming back here, like, for instance, when you talk about preserving the earth, right? Why should I care about preserving the earth is if I'm going to die in 30, 40 years and then I'm gone. Now, when I know that I'm coming back here and I want to have a better place to live, right? Don't we all work, try to make our lives better? Why wouldn't I try to make my future life better also, right? But that comes with the understanding of reincarnation and the acceptance of it. Otherwise, it becomes much more difficult. Yes, Paco?
Yeah, I'm thinking here, if we are doing it, you know, I'm kind of confused, or I don't know, I got so many questions. The person who doesn't care about their future lives, who doesn't care about reincarnation, who just does good work, he's just a good human being. And is not interested in you telling me about reincarnation or sex. I don't care about that. I just care about doing good, period. So there are people, I believe, that these concepts that we're learning are already in the DNA, in the cell nature, and it's not that they don't care, it's that it's not relevant because they don't look at it as now the example that you said, we have to take care of the Mother Earth because we are going to be reincarnated and we want a better place. That's a selfish motive.
Yes.
It is a selfish motive because I better take care of it because I'm going to come back here and I want a better place.
Yes.
But there are people that are good. They don't, it's like believing or not believing in a second life or in spirit. It's not in them. It's just good people.
Yes, and again, it's important to understand that what makes a difference is our moral evolvement, right? We are going to find ourselves in different places in the spiritual world according to our moral evolvement. So yes, you are right in the sense, if a person believes in nothing, but leads a life, upright life, doesn't destroy, doesn't harm anyone, takes care of themselves, their family, they donate, they lead
neighbors, yeah.
They are going to find themselves back in the spiritual world with a lot of help and assistance. It will take them some time to realize and accept that they are in the spiritual world because they don't believe in it. But the fact that they are going to be fully helped and assisted there, yes, they are going to receive all the assistance. Different from a religious fanatic that persecuted others, that do not believe the same they did, cause harm to others. These are going to find themselves in a much worse place back in the spiritual world. So yes, what matters is the moral evolution. And for the moral evolution, the intellectual knowledge or any knowledge that you have makes some difference, but it's not the most important factor. You are right in that sense, absolutely. But what Kardec is saying here is, for the majority of the population, if you don't believe in anything, you have a tendency to go the wrong path.
That's true.
Yes. He's not talking about the exceptions, but there are exceptions, yes. And those exceptions, they will find a good assistance when they are back in the spiritual world. Okay.
If I sometimes question myself, if life itself is an instant, okay? If life itself is an instant, how much of reality is this life?
Yeah, well,
Question I ask myself. I don't know if there's an answer to that, but I'm a question myself. If this life is an instant, and I can be proven mathematically also, what's the reality of an instant? If it disappears the moment it starts.
yeah, no, I actually was discussing.
So, which means that the real world, Joao, is the spirit world.
Yes, that's
how I look at it, but once again, it's like are you following me? Yeah.
Yes, but we have to be very careful, because I was discussing this week with someone that said exactly the same thing. The real world is the spiritual world. So our life here is an illusion. I said, no, our life here is not an illusion. It's a reality. You can say that the other side is more important than this side. Yes. Our eternal home is the other side. Yes. But to say that this is an illusion, that's not correct, because this is not an illusion. This is reality. Yeah. If you are talking about in terms of time, it's nothing. One incarnation is nothing compared to eternity. Again, fine. Yes, I agree with that. But I don't agree that this is an illusion.
No, it's not an illusion, but it's an instant.
Yes, in an instant, in comparison to eternity, I agree with you. But I just brought, because someone just said to me, well, if the real world is the spiritual world, this is an illusion. It's not an illusion. How can you say this is an illusion?
We have to be careful. We have to be careful with language also, Joao, because sometimes language hide a lot of meaning, and sometimes I read once in my first year of college that said something like, language is composed mostly of silence. Yes, quite. I never forgot that line. I never forgot that line because that silence can be filled in with so many perceptions. So
Yeah.
that's why, being so precise and meticulous in our communication is so important. Because as you said before, when I said that this is not this is real, it might be confused with it's an illusion, which I did not mean that really.
No,
But
I,
you could be correct. It could be led to say illusion doesn't exist. Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
That's right.
Illusion, again, I agree with you. Words are words, but illusion in the sense that it doesn't matter, in the sense that it doesn't matter what we do here because it's all an illusion. That doesn't make any sense.
Some people say that doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some people say other things. Well, anyway, we're not going to, that goes outside Spiritism, and we're not here to go outside Spiritism. But anyways, we're going to stop here on number 3 because we have 5 minutes left. But if anyone has any other comments, questions, please go ahead. Nope. All right. So I invite you all Saturday to watch me. Because the lecture on Saturday by the United States Spirit Federation is going to be presented by yours truly. And it is, the title of the lecture is the words disappear now. One.
Word forgiveness.
Word forgives. Forgive is the last one. Love, work, wait, forgive. Sorry. Love, work, wait, forgive, which is the words said by Abigail to Paul of Tarsus when he met her in a dream. And my talk is going to be how he reached that point of having the dream and the experience with her, and how can we use these words that she gave to us in our daily lives and in the challenges and the realities that we are facing nowadays. Okay, so this is Saturday, 11 a.m. On the United States Spiritist Federation YouTube page, and International Spiritist Council YouTube page, and also on the Facebook. Okay. Sunday, we are going to study Between Heaven and Earth, chapters 17 and 18. If you haven't read the book yet, you need to read to catch up, because it's becoming more and more a story that depends on past chapters for you to understand. Book club started this week, the book Ill-Fated Diamonds by Victor Hugo, and through the psychography of Divaldo Franco. Next Wednesday, chapter 2 on book club, which is Wednesday at 7 p.m. Where tomorrow is December, we are going to be closed in December, both Sunday and Monday for Christmas and New Year's, and the Tuesday and Thursday between Christmas and New Year's. Okay, so we'll be closed for almost a couple of weeks, more or less, in terms of year end. So because Christmas falls on and New Year's falls on Sunday, and on Monday. Yeah, so Christmas Eve at Sunday, and New Year's Eve is also on Sunday. Okay.
Yeah, New Year's Eve is on Sunday.
Yeah.
And the 24th is Sunday too.
Yeah. So we'll be closed at Sundays and Mondays. And
But we're going to be open on the 28th.
And we are going to be closed in the middle also, the Tuesday and Thursday and Wednesday and Thursday of that.
Oh, it's okay. The week from the 25th until the 1st.
Yes, so our last meeting will be on the 21st, the study of the Spirit's book, and we'll be back on January 2nd for the Spiritism at noon. Okay, and we'll be close between that. Okay,
Thank you. Yeah.
but I'll remind everybody. So, Carol, can you do our final prayer, please?
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much, John and Elmo. Thank you, Philip, for reading, and everyone who's here who would be participating. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we are grateful to be together again for our study of the Spirit's book, the chapter or the conclusion of this book. Miraculous and spiritual phenomenon are aspects of the natural laws. They may be outside of our complete understanding, but may be scientifically or medically revealed. Through Spiritism, we can search, question, study to find the greater truths beyond materialism and religious dogmas. Justice, charity, goodness, and love are the basis of Spiritism, which gives us hope and answers to humanity. Generally, materialist beliefs may not provide all the motivation to sustain moral values for evolution of the planet and humanity. Spiritism values the progress also through the reincarnation process. We give thanks to our spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us this evening. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, the directors, the counselors, the mediums, and the workers, and all who are participating. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace, and for those who are suffering deeply in the physical world and who are also suffering in the spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all centers of Spiritism throughout the world, that they may grow, expand, and be protected day and night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. May we go forth now as beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and of charity. So be it.